Vaguely scientific. It's dumb in a fun way. Or fun in a dumb way. Or why not both of those?
Yeah.
That's it. When we talk about moose, we don't take half measures. We go full moose. I am Derek. And you're all welcome to Jim's Brain Forest. I don't want to be here. Why would anyone want to be here? Hi, Jim.
It's spooky.
And here to answer that age-old question, molybdenum? It's Ryan. Hi, Ryan.
Hello, and the answer is 42.
Yay!
Yeah.
And now the universe will have to start over.
I can't see too many complaints about that.
Yeah, let's do a mulligan on this one.
Yeah.
We got, you know what? We had a good run.
Things have gotten weird.
We're just kind of, jump the shark at this point a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, this is the show where listeners send in questions to hear our vaguely scientific answers, which is why we call the show Vaguely Scientific. And who knows, we might even get some of those answers right. But first, it's time for the fun science fact of the day. Jim?
Alrighty. A meme is defined as an idea or other cultural item that can be spread from person to person, especially by repetition.
Especially by repetition.
Yeah.
Especially by repetition?
Especially by repetition.
Oh, okay.
I thought of this fact after I saw that you put some fun references to past episodes in the introduction.
Oh, okay. I was going to say all of those were references to things you can find in the Vaguely Scientific store. Woo.
Oh, also true.
Shameless self-promotion.
Yeah.
I was wondering, so does meme predate the internet then? Because I've read that before.
The word does. I mean, the concept, I suppose, would as well, because there are a lot of things that are like now considered to be memes. Like, for example, one that I always think of, just because I watched a lot of cartoons growing up, is the things like Kilroy was here. That's like a meme from World War II that spread through like soldiers' barracks and stuff. But the word itself was coined, I believe, in the 70s by Richard Dawkins, actually.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Huh. So it's Richard Dawkins' fault. Well, speaking of segues, with the fun science fact out of the way, why don't we move on to our first question this week?
Yeah.
Which is, if we actually wanted to make such a game as Quidditch work, how could we do it and keep it relatively safe?
It's not fair that they added keep it relatively safe.
And keep it relatively safe. I do think it's odd that was added in there.
My first thought was like helicopters, and that's not safe.
Helicopter polo.
Yeah, that was exactly what I was thinking. And the thing of it is that like the thing about Quidditch that I think a lot of people forget is that the various balls, I don't remember most of the names of the balls. There's the snitch and there's the bludgers and then there's two other balls, I think.
The quaffle.
Yep.
That's why we forget it. Anyway, they fly on their own because they're magic. And as far as I can think of, that's going to be the challenge. Making a person fly can be done, but making the balls fly. And also you have to be able to hit the balls.
So here's I don't like that that's the last thing you said, what I'm about to say, but okay, here we go. So a fun bit of trivia I learned today, because the Harry Potter universe is another one of those things that I am the most expert at ever, and that was sarcasm. Apparently, the evolution of the game of Quidditch in history, like several games that it was based on in the fictional world of the magic-y stuff, they used birds, and there was like a whole controversy that surrounded the only one I could find specifically was the snitch, the golden snitch. used to be a particular kind of bird that they decided to stop using because it was considered animal cruelty, and the Wizard Council decided to make that bird a protected species, so they had to magic a replacement for it because the game was popular enough that they had to keep it going.
Now, the balls that they have to, like, bludgeon into the hole, were those also birds? Because that seems particularly mean.
I don't have a source for that.
I didn't expect to know more about this than either of you because I know nothing.
Okay.
But so the bludgers are the ones that you whack with the bat, and those are like enemy balls. So like already it's the whole caveat of like make it safe kind of precludes like spike people off of their flying object with a malicious ball. But we'll get that somewhere. But then the quaffle is basically the quaffle's like a volleyball. It's like a soccer ball or whatever, and it's just a dormant ball. And that's the one that you score with. So the two bludgers are the ones that just like chase people around and try to murder them. I don't know if there's a bird we could use for those. There's definitely we could use like
a very angry crow might do it.
I was gonna say we could get like a cassowary and make it fly.
Cassowaries can't fly though.
Right. Oh, I said make it fly.
You'd have to make it
you
fly.
did say make it fly. You're right. Sorry.
At that point, we don't have to use a bird though. Like, if we're
I
gonna
wonder
make
if
something fly anyway.
The obvious bird for the snitch is a hummingbird, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, that makes sense.
how do you? I wonder. I mean, there's got to be some form of flappy wing flight that we're capable of in like tiny form, like RC controller type form. Like there must be some kind of flappy wing version that we could use, right? Based on a hummingbird.
I did want to at some point out that while the wizards used a magical solution to create these artifacts, we do have technology. We do have drones. You know? So like, I feel like it doesn't even need to be magic at that point.
Wasn't that that's the question, right? How do we do it with non-magic items?
Yeah.
Well, how do we actually make it work? So this whole using birds thing, like they solved that with magic, but we just have we
already have birds,
like
guys.
We already have birds. You know?
No.
I mean, well, some people may disagree, but
birds aren't real. Well, I think that drones are an important one to talk about because, like, if you think about it, there are a lot of different ways you can make drones spherical. The caveat is that drones are pretty sensitive. Like, you can't hit a drone, and if a drone hits you, as I believe the bludgers are the ones that are supposed to hit other people, it's probably going to crash. Like, they are pretty finicky machines, and to be fair, like they have to be. They are flying objects. They need to be able to be stable, and if you crash into somebody or if somebody crashes into it, they are no longer stable, and they will most likely break and crash or both.
Right, because we have offensive drones, but they are not like bludgeoning things. They're like they have artillery attached to them.
Yeah,
maybe the artillery drones could just shoot tennis balls or something.
Ooh, yeah. Oh, now we're starting to get into like American Gladiators is what we're doing.
Okay.
That'd be fun. This is a very American Gladiators kind of thing.
Yeah. We had a drone at work for a very long time that was about the size of the palm of your hand. But even though that drone's only task was to go up and move laterally like 15 feet and then come back down, it was frequently broken. Just from like normal wear and tear. So I love the idea of a drone, but I think they have to be made more robust.
Well, have you ever seen like racing drones?
Not really, no.
There's and I know nothing about this sport, but there are like I've seen footage of drone races and they go to like warehouses a lot of the times and things that are kind of have a lot of like obstacles and pillars but also like are a little bit confined and indoors, and they like run them through these like abandoned warehouses and things like that. and they're going like upside down and like sharp around corners and through doors and all kinds of crazy stuff. And the speed is just mind-boggling that they're like, I can't understand even how they're being controlled in time because of how fast they're going. I would have thought that like latency would cause them to crash into a wall, because it's like a millisecond of difference between going through a door and smashing into the wall. So they've got some, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure exactly like you said, like if something knocks it slightly off course, it probably doesn't recover. But if that's like the solution for something like the snitch, then you know, once they get it, it doesn't have to keep flying, I guess. Maybe just whack it out of the air and you win.
Right.
So now that I've looked up racing drones, like I have seen these before, and they'll like fly through hoops and like rings and stuff, which is similar to the scoring posts of the Quidditch game, which is not anything but a neat little connection I made in my brain just now. I wanted to go back to the trouble with making the game safe. I want to point out that the way the question is worded, how could we do it and keep it relatively safe? That throws a little bit of a question on there, like, what do you mean relatively safe? Because some people would argue that like American football and rugby are relatively safe.
True.
But those are very violent sports.
So they're still relatively safe, doesn't necessarily mean like totally like devoid of all injury risk. So we haven't even made the people fly yet.
Oh, that's true.
So
helicopter polo.
Well, that's not really in I feel like that's not really in like the spirit, because but have you seen those jetpack things where they've got kind of like it's like an Iron Man type of jetpack where the person has like a jet with, it looks like 3 jets on each arm, and they're just flying around like by their arms. They use them in all kinds of cool stuff, and for some practical purposes, I've seen them used in like Coast Guard demonstrations, something like that. But then the problem becomes you don't have use of either arm, but they are totally independent. I've also seen jetpacks that use like a really large hose, and you can hover like 25 feet above the water on like a kind of like a hoverboard type of thing. But that like just sucks in water and spits it out as, like a water jet stream, which is not necessarily flight. But like these things are totally, it's just like a backpack and then 2 arm cannons.
I was actually thinking of something like that, because I think that if you play over water, that's not the worst idea.
Yeah.
Interesting. And if you fall, then it's a little safer.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like if you fall and hit concrete, then it's going to be a bad time. But if you fall and hit water, it might still be a bad time, but less.
Well, there are. So I just did a very quick. So there are jetpack races. In the first Google thing that came up, it looks like the world's first one was in Dubai, and I opened that just to check on the video, and it's a bunch of these guys with these like Tony Stark arm jetpack things, and they are all over water. So I think like water might be the solution to like avoid like a fatality for getting knocked by a bludger.
I want to bring up the Final Fantasy X sport of Blitzball, which took place in a big sphere of water, and all of the contestants were swimming. And that gives them 3-dimensional mobility. So I was wondering if you could like create this with some sort of like, everybody wears scuba gear, and they have like, instead of a broom, they're flying on like a little personal propulsion kind of like a jet ski, but underwater.
They do.
That's
have those
a really good idea, actually.
So I just thought of that now. I wish I had put more thought into it earlier, because I feel like I could have come up with more.
I think that's a really good idea.
That's a good idea. And I'll comment on it just for the people that are sitting at home going, water polo. So I'm just going to say the words water polo just to get that out of the way.
Helicopter
Somebody's
polo.
going to say water polo. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's not what water polo is.
No, that's not what water polo is, but there is already a sport where you swim around and throw a ball into a goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Since you mentioned swimming, this seems like the kind of thing that would be really fun to take up into space. Like,
ooh,
if you could have, it doesn't even have to be a very powerful propulsion unit, like some kind of jetpack to push you around. You could probably achieve basically the same kind of thing. One of the things that I think a lot of people don't really think about when it comes to flying on a broom is that there's going to be some inertia, and you have to think about how are you going to turn. And depending on the media, I feel like sometimes it looks pretty good, but sometimes they just like stop and then like turn and then go the other way. And I don't think you're going to be able to do that super easily. And that is something that you probably have to worry about if you did this in zero gravity.
Right. Well, I think that's interesting because I would think a personal flying device that would emulate a flying broom would be more like a plane where you kind of have to be moving to stay aloft, but we clearly see that they can stay still with the broom, so they're more like helicopters in that regard. So that would make it, like with what you just said, that would makes that really hard to emulate.
We could do it in a it would have to be a timed thing, but we could just have everybody start in the upper atmosphere and just free dive with wingsuits and just just wingsuit fly around.
I like it though.
Well, that would also help because the number one thing that I think we need to do whenever Earth finally invents Quidditch is get rid of the stupid snitch, because it's the stupidest rule in the history of any fake sport.
Yeah.
So on that note, I learned, because I used to always be under the impression that the entire game was pointless and they should have just focused on catching the snitch.
Exactly.
I thought, because I thought you just win it by catching the snitch. What I learned, allegedly, this is from the Harry Potter wiki, allegedly, if the other team is already ahead in points such that catching the snitch would not give them enough points to win, like they would try to avoid catching it. But that seems silly. Everyone should just focus on the snitch. But I learned that...
I think it's the opposite. I think everybody should focus on the actual cool game, which is like broom soccer. Like it's a really exciting game where they all like run around. Because the snitch doesn't even get caught. Well, I mean, I guess it could, but like the snitch can go out of the stadium. It can go like under the bleachers and all kinds of stuff. So like,
you need
just
cameras to follow.
We need camera. Yeah, you would either need cameras to follow, but like then what's the point of seeing it in person?
I learned that allegedly in the history of Quidditch, the game used to go on until the snitch was caught, or the two captains of the teams could agree to end the game. Which, why would you agree to end the game if you're behind? But so I guess it could go on for days, and the longest recorded game ever played went on for 6 months, is what I'm finding here. The longest game was 6 months. No one caught the snitch.
I feel like wizards are really bad at coming up with rules.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
I can't think of another example off of the top of my head. But I feel like I have heard other like wizardy things in Harry Potter where they didn't think about how to stop doing something.
Yeah.
And it's wild to me because like at the same time in the real world, there were games that had a very obvious endpoint. And they should really have thought about how to make the game end.
I was going to say also, so the only person who can catch the snitch is the Seeker. So what happens if the Seeker gets injured?
Oh, yeah.
You know, like
they as far as I can tell, there's
no like bench or anything. So like if one Seeker gets injured or knocked unconscious or something, like what do you do? And I also looked up, I was like, well, can someone else catch the snitch? which I assumed no, because why would you have a designated player?
I assumed no. Sure.
And
Right, yeah.
I never knew this. This is really funny. If a player other than the seeker catches the snitch, it's called a snitch nip, which is a Quidditch foul.
Which is a Quidditch foul.
So I don't know, like you get a yellow card or something. I don't know, but
I like that it sounds like you're writing a Dr. Seuss book.
I know. But it's like if it's like buzzing around your face and you just like grab it, I guess that's a foul. I don't know what happens, but yeah, just don't touch it. But if one person, and then that, like, is it a viable strategy to just try and incapacitate the other seeker? Like, I guess that's what the
I think yeah.
I assume that's what the bludgers are for, right? But they seem to always go after the soccer match.
The issue seems like there's two separate games being played at the same time, because you could get rid of the soccer and just have it be two people are chasing this thing and then their teams are trying to stop the other person from catching. That could be a game on its own.
That sounds vaguely like I think that is kind of almost not unlike roller derby.
Ooh,
oh, okay, yeah. That makes sense.
Roller derby has very complicated rules that I cannot figure out.
It's roller derby around a soccer field.
They pretty much, like the roller. I think the point of roller derby, like the way you score, I think like one person is like the snitch, basically, like from each team is like the snitch, and like they have to like keep passing each other because it goes in laps. And then the rest of the teams just try and like block the other team's snitch from like getting ahead. But that's basically like you're chasing something around a ring, and then there's one part of the game where it's try to go fast, and then there's the other part of the game where it's like try to hit the fast person. So that's kind of there's proof of concept. We do have something kind of almost similar. So like people chasing a snitch around while other people try and beat them has precedent.
Have you ever seen, now this is a stupid idea, but I've seen people play chess and horse at the same time. And it was like, you get to, or maybe it's not chess, but I can't, like you basically are playing horse, but as long as it takes you to make a basket is how long the other team gets to make progress on some other game. And it's like two games at the same time. Probably not chess, I guess.
Have you seen chess boxing? Now that's the question.
Oh, no, I haven't.
That's it. I don't have to describe it because what you're thinking is what it is.
Okay.
You play chess while you box.
I want to go back to something because I had this and genuinely didn't know if it was going to come up, but I wanted to go back to Ryan's point about the snitch makes the game not exciting for like the audience, because if they can leave the course, then what's the point of being there in person? I wanted to bring up, this is just like some sports history, which is weird for me to be saying, but here it is. A long time ago, I should have a date on this, there was a guy named George Mikan who played for the Lakers, and he was 6 feet and 10 inches tall. And this was before they had goaltending rules, because they just assumed nobody would be tall enough to do this. But this guy would basically stand by the hoop, and just whenever a ball would come close to going in, he'd just put up his hand and like block it from going in. And that was something they tried to make a rule against that, but you'd think the goaltending rule would prevent that from happening. But that's not what the actual problem with the game was, because the opponent's team would pretty much find a way to get a lead in the game as early as possible. And then they'd spend the rest of the game playing keep away and blocking shots, which is basically camping. And so it resulted in really low scoring games. And they would just kind of just get in the lead and then try to avoid making any more plays. And that resulted in the game being really boring to watch. So they, instead of introducing the goaltending rules, like anti-goaltending rules, they introduced the shot clock, which meant people had, like, they had a time limit for as long as they could hold the ball before attempting to make a hoop. And this forced the other team to confront George Mikan specifically. And that made the game more exciting for people to watch. And that's where, like, most of these rules weren't about making the game more balanced or fair or whatever. It was specifically to make it exciting for the audience to watch. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Chasing drones on jetpacks sounds like we've got a good start.
Yeah.
Right?
I think it's interesting, though, that, I mean, I don't know anything about Harry Potter, to be fair. I've seen the movies. I've never read the books. But from the little bit we've been talking about, it sounds kind of like the rules have been relatively fixed for a fairly long time. And in sports, it seems like they do a lot of changing when somebody figures out a way to sort of exploit something, they will change the rules slightly, not like a whole overhaul, but they will change the rules slightly to get rid of the little hack that somebody figured out. And I also don't know anything about sports, to be fair, but I do have friends that do. And not too long back, I can't remember when or what the situation was, but there was a change in the NFL where whatever the rule change was suddenly made it a lot more common to see 2-point conversions, which, again, I couldn't tell you why or what or how, but I do remember that it's like, oh, well, all of a sudden we're seeing a lot more 2-point conversions instead of just like a field goal kick. And I think that's interesting. Like, that's something that you see in real sports where they will evolve slightly if there's like something that seems too exploitable. And honestly, I think the snitch is very exploitable. So
I think it was they just moved the extra point back a little bit so that it wasn't like an automatic like chip in shot. I mean,
okay.
They moved the extra point kick back a little bit, and then you could also opt to do a 2-point conversion from like the 2-yard line.
Oh, okay.
So like, yeah, they are trying to like it. I assume it is for excitement, but a similar thing in recent days, and I actually don't know if a rule ever went through, but I remember that there were lots of talks about how to make a rule for this, was the infield shift in baseball. You know, whenever people started doing all kinds of like Moneyball stats and like sabermetrics and things where data has become a huge part of the game. For certain players who would always hit the ball to like a certain, statistically, they're almost always going to either pull or push the ball, and it's always to one side or the other. Some coaches were like, okay, well, if there's like a 99% chance they're going to hit the ball down the first baseline, I'm going to take the third baseman and move him all the way up to second. And like they shift, the whole, they leave half of the field empty, basically, and move everyone there and just try and like force into a line drive. To me, as a baseball fan, the obvious solution to that I'm just like, why don't you just take a free bunt down the third base line and like walk to first? Like, if they're not going to bother defending the like half of the field and you really want to take that chance, that would be like the easy way to beat it. But they came up with, in the last year or two, there were, I don't know if these went into effect or anything like that, but they made it so like you had to have 2 infielders on one side of the second base line and 2 infielders on the other side of like second base. Or I think they also proposed like a trapezoid area where like right up the middle behind second base, like the shortstop or the second baseman couldn't go into like this trapezoid area. But it's just all kinds of things, but it all stemmed exactly like you said, where like now there's rule changes and stuff for people trying to exploit these hacks, which is like, hey, I know he's gonna hit it here, so I'm gonna put all my guys right there and get it out. You're either gonna give up a home run or you're gonna get like a line drive out to one of your 9 guys standing in like a 5-meter radius.
Yeah,
we need to make our sport unhackable.
We need to make it unhackable. Well, that's kind of the thing about, because the 2 other things that I know less about like Magic the Gathering type games, but I know fighting games, like video games, Street Fighter, etc. And both of those have things that like they have tournament play, which not something I've ever really done, but I know that the like in Magic the Gathering or other such card games, they continue to release new cards and they have a ban list of what you can and can't use in a tournament setting. And in a fighting game, they have certain like hierarchy of like a tier list, which I guess they literally call a tier list of which characters are the better ones to use in tournament play. And I know In Super Smash Brothers Melee, I believe it was Meta Knight that was like banned for a long time.
Oh, and Brawl.
In Brawl, that was Brawl. Okay,
Yeah.
I don't know Super Smash
Yeah.
Bros. But I remember hearing lots of arguments about why wouldn't you just be the strongest character and win? If I'm playing as this really strong character, my opponent also has the option to play as that really strong character. So why is that unfair? And the reason that it's banned is that too many contestants were just picking all the same characters, and it wasn't interesting to watch. And interesting about that is the Magic the Gathering isn't about balancing it for the audience, but it is balancing it to encourage people to buy more, which is a little different. So none of these are about like, let's make the game unhackable. It's let's make the game entertaining or let's make money.
Yeah.
Any player who wears a shirt from the Vaguely Scientific store gets a 5-point lead.
Oh yeah, there you go.
There we go. I like that rule.
Wear it to your favorite Quidditch match. Now, speaking of which, now here's the thing I'm surprised none of us have brought up, and I'm really excited I get to be the one to do it.
Okay.
So there is an actual Quidditch sport.
Oh, yeah.
It is not in the air. It is done on the ground with brooms that you have to hold the broom in one hand and like do sports stuff with the other hand. But they have created like a ground-based rule system that, I mean, to me it sounds more similar to like a lacrosse kind of thing, or even like Highlight, which are both pretty cool. But the one thing that I did get a kick out of is the fact that, at least as far as I read, the snitch is apparently a player that is on neither team, and their job is to just run around, and they have a ball on their belt, and so they have to try the two seekers have to try to catch the ball off the person's belt, kind of like when you play what's it called, like when you
flag football.
Flag football,
yeah.
Thank you, yeah. But that made me laugh a lot because that's very, very funny. The game itself, at the moment, it started out as being called Quidditch. Now it's been renamed to Quad Ball for various reasons. But it's a real sport that people play. They don't fly around, but they have taken the rule set and adapted it to a ground-based system.
When that made me think of, because we talked about roller derby around a soccer field, and now I'm kind of thinking about, well, I won't spoil this because this actually happened in high school. I was sitting at a football game because I was in the marching band and I had to go to the football games in the marching band. And my high school, which was also Jim's high school, but I'm not going to say the name, had a notoriously bad football team. Like throughout the whole county, it was very well known that our football team never won.
Yeah.
So they didn't get a lot of support from like people who weren't parents of the players. But like football was still a really big deal. But anyway, I remember sitting in the bandstand while the game was going on, and it was a particularly poorly attended game. And while the football team was going on, there was an athletics track that ran around the football field, and this group of children, like younger than high school children, just were down there playing tag. And everyone was way more fascinated by that game of tag.
That's cute and also sad. Good for those kids, though.
Well, it's also like proof of why the snitch rule just doesn't work.
Yeah.
Because like there's no way you can be invested in the full team sport and the seeker at the same time, because like if you're watching the seeker, you don't know what the heck's going on on the field. But if you're watching the field, then at some point someone's just gonna come over the PA and be like, the game's over.
Yeah.
Just FYI, just wanted to let everyone know we can all go home. It's done. Yeah. Something happened that you didn't see.
And can I say, as a player, that would be tremendously demoralizing.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Like, you are busting your butt trying to get these goals, trying to score as many points as you can, and all of a sudden, somebody comes over the PA. It's like, the snitch has been caught. Go home, everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
A parallel could be drawn to like the timer counting down in like a basketball game, or I guess also a football game. But in Quidditch, it doesn't have that, is a thing that I specifically read. Like they can take timeouts, but they
can
don't
go for
have,
6
like,
months,
periods.
apparently.
They can apparently go for 6 months. I don't know if that was like in the ancient lore of the world or if it was current, because
maybe it was apocryphal.
You know what might be kind of fun in Muggle Quidditch jetpack ball. So like we still have the problem of like the bludgers. But talking about like artillery drones shooting the tennis balls or whatever, I was like, wouldn't it be awesome if like the fans could man like t-shirt cannons or something like filled with like volleyballs or whatever and just fire at the other team? Like that would get me invested in a sport.
And we're looping back around to American Gladiators.
I was just about to say,
we've already, created the creme de la creme in American Gladiators.
Yeah. The audience gets to try to shoot them with like little Nerf balls while they're trying.
And the bludgers can, I guess, maybe just bat them away from their friends or something rather than trying to like bonk the ball into people. But
I think this is actually a really good analogy because, like, if you take a look at it sounds like a bit, but it's not. Like, if you take a look at how American Gladiators worked, you had you sort of had like 3 teams because there were like the 2 people that were like competing against each other. And then you had the gladiators that were competing against both of them effectively.
Yeah.
And I think that that's sort of, in a way, it would be more like 3 teams, not like 2 people and then a team against them. But you'd have like the 2 teams that are like ostensibly against each other, and then like sort of a third neutral party that's just trying to make everyone miserable.
It's their job to just be an obstacle.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, American Gladiators was a lot of fun when I remember really liking it as a child.
Yeah, let's scrap the whole Quidditch thing and just bring back
American. They had a reboot not too long ago, but
I feel like I watched a little bit of it and it was pretty good, but it was also like one of those things where I don't think that as a culture we're ready for another American Gladiators yet. I would watch it, but I think as a society we've moved to a different space.
We're not ready for that.
No, not yet.
But your kids are
going to love it.
Yeah.
All right.
Last thing, trampoline park.
Trampoline park.
Okay.
Do you guys remember what was it called? Like slam ball. It was basketball on a trampoline thing. And like it was on TV for a while.
I don't remember it, but
it's just insanely dangerous because
trampolines are insanely dangerous.
Trampolines are already super dangerous. Plus, you're competing, and like people were jumping up like 30 feet in the air to like do like really awesome slam dunk type of things. But like people could get like caught in the net, like on the hoop on the way down, and all kinds of like horrible things. I'm not saying, now we said we'd have to keep it, what did we say, relatively safe?
Relatively safe.
Yeah.
Relatively safe. Slam ball's still on the table.
Yeah, I was going to say relatively safe is the operative word. And there's not going to be like a whole lot of obstacles because there's like those towers that have the loops in them, but you're not going to you're not going to get stuck in the loops because they're vertical, I think, right?
That's true. Yeah, actually, that's probably safer. From a slam ball perspective, because I think the danger, definitely if you're going against gravity, when the hoop is like horizontal, if you get like a leg or something in, you don't just slide out, you're stuck. You could like, snap your leg. But if you get caught in a vertical hoop, you just kind of fall out.
Yeah. Wasn't too long ago that somebody was talking about trampolines, that they're not really common anymore, and my brother was like, how come kids don't have trampolines anymore? It's because they're super dangerous. And he was like they're not that dangerous. And then immediately I flashed back to a kid in our neighborhood had a trampoline sat next to a 2-story garage, and we took turns jumping off of the roof of the garage.
Yeah, I remember that.
That was kind of dangerous. Now
I only did that one time because I didn't have the guts.
The 90s.
But I did jump off of the raised porch deck thing several times. That was a lot of fun. I can't believe I've still never broken a bone.
Lucky.
Yeah.
You're lucky, Jim. All right, I am going to move on because we have another question to talk about.
Yeah, speaking of broken bones.
Ooh, Jim, the Segway game has passed on.
Yeah, it's contagious.
It's contagious. All right. Well, yeah, speaking of broken bones, question 2 this week. Would you rather fight one Hulk-sized trilobite or 100 trilobite-sized Hulks?
Important question. Is the trilobite mad at me?
I don't know if trilobites can feel rage.
Well, you have to be fighting it. So either it's mad at
Either it's mad at me already or it will be.
or it will be, yeah.
Well, then I get the first punch, right?
Then you get the first punch and it might go down. You don't know. I want to say definitively, and I'm open to hearing a counterpoint to this, but I don't think I will be convinced. I'm going to say 100% I would rather fight a Hulk-sized trilobites.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, it's not even close.
let me just give you this, Jim. Because depending on the trilobite, now usually they were pretty small, but I looked it up because I wasn't actually sure. Some trilobites could be up to 60 centimeters long, which is just about 2 feet. And I want to say 100 of those. That's 200 feet of Hulks, Jim.
Jeez. Well, here's the other thing, and you're right though, because the world record, as far as I know, of trilobite is I think 28 inches.
Oh, okay.
So that's like the world record. That's like the biggest one we've ever found. Most of them were fairly small, like I don't know, like a couple centimeters, maybe 10 centimeters max. Those are the typical trilobites you're going to find. But my understanding of the Deep Hulk lore is that like Hulk can break a planet in half. And the size ratio between the Hulk and a whole planet is much, much bigger than the size ratio between a trilobite-sized Hulk and me. And like if a regular-sized Hulk can break a planet, a trilobite-sized Hulk can break me. And that's just one trilobite-sized Hulk. That's not 100 of them.
I want to even if it weren't the Hulk, even if it was 102 feet tall people. Like I would, I would still pick the big, because like a trilobite, I'm pretty sure, even if it's big, and the Hulk is not like a kaiju sized. He's
I think 7 to 8 feet tall.
He ranges from a professional wrestler to like a small bear.
Yeah, Lou Ferrigno.
Not a small bear, I guess, but
he gets significantly bigger than bears in.
Yeah. I was trying to think. I wanted to say tank immediately, and then I was like, I have no reference.
Honestly, like an elephant or something.
An elephant, yeah. So big, but not like, I don't know. So a trilobite that is the size of an elephant, I think we could still shoot with a gun and it would die.
Yeah, I mean, probably. It's important to remember trilobites are very, very closely related to like crustaceans. So they did have like an exoskeleton. Okay. And if you scale that up, I don't know how like thick that becomes. I'm not sure there's an answer to that question actually, because I don't know how much we know about we do know a decent amount about the inside of a trilobite actually, because there are so many trilobite fossils. Like you can just go and buy a trilobite fossil because they are so common. But I don't know. It might be hard to like shoot it with a handgun, but like a bigger gun, you could definitely take it out with like a 50 caliber.
I thought this was a fist fight. I didn't realize.
Well, it could be. It could be a fist fight.
I mean, it doesn't. There's no rules, so it could be any
I will
fight.
concede. Yeah, I mean, I will give the trilobite 50 caliber also to make it fair.
Just tape it to the side of it.
I'm gonna assume that won't come into play.
I mean, so fighting something that big that is a crustacean probably has appendages that could do damage to you. I don't know a lot about them, but if it's that size, the other thing is assuming it could survive in our atmosphere with our gravity. Assuming it can. That thing still could kill you.
But
easily. There's only one of them.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's where I'm sticking with.
Well, it's also like it is one thing that can kill you as easily, but a single Hulk of the tiny variety. And I was looking it up and I'm like, okay, I'm going to even give them the average like 2 to 6 centimeters or something of Hulks.
Okay.
And I was like, I wonder, like, canonically, what is the Hulk's like power ratio? Like, is the Hulk like an ant, and it's like, well, the Hulk can lift something up to 6,000 times. Well, the stuff that I found, and I'm sure there are a million different varieties of Hulks, but
Sure.
the theory that I found is that the Hulk's power is infinite. That's how he can smash planets and stuff like that.
It's often been done that way, yeah.
It grows infinitely with his rage. So like, I'm it doesn't matter if if his power is infinite, if his strength is infinite, then it doesn't matter how tiny we make him.
Yeah.
Like he could like boot me into the sun, and then there's 100 of them. And also like even a Hulk with regular old Hulk intelligence, I think is a little more intelligent than a trilobite.
Yeah.
I just have to wait until the trilobite gets distracted by like a worm, and I don't know.
Well, that just made me think, the Hulks aren't necessarily operating as a unit, though. Like, I guess they are fighting you.
Well, if they're all committed to fighting one thing, I don't think you can like convince half the Hulks to fight the other half of the Hulks.
That
rules.
was what I was trying to do. That's a good tactic.
You might as well. What else are you going to do at that point?
I have nothing else. Like,
I think it also sort of depends on like how smart are these particular Hulks. Because like if you looked down and you were like, hey, that Hulk over there said you were weak. Like, could you do it? Are they smart enough to realize that you were doing this as a distraction?
Well, yeah. I mean, or like, can you get them angrier at something else than you?
That bird is a butt. And they all go after the bird.
We go back to the original question: is the trilobite mad at you? Like we haven't established the parameters. Like presumably you have to be fighting them for this question to work. But like, what is the end goal?
I mean, I think trilobite. I think if it's mad at you, you're gonna get very dead. But like, actually, I had a second question, which is which one will kill me fastest?
Ooh.
Hulk. I might just lie down amongst the Hulks and just
let them pulverize
literally
you.
Pulverized. Yeah.
Yeah, just throw the match. It's gonna end that way anyway.
Maybe less scary that way, honestly.
Maybe,
I don't know. Like a bunch of like Lilliputian Hulks.
Yeah.
Oh, Marvel's Gulliver's.
Yeah, yeah. I think one of the other things about the trilobite is that I think for the sake of the question, we do have to assume that like it's angry at you and it wants to hurt you for some reason.
Okay.
But trilobites went extinct a very long time ago, and there was nothing on Earth at that time that shared our body plan. Like there were no bipedal like hairless. I mean, there were barely mammals when they went extinct. Maybe there weren't even mammals yet. I'm not sure exactly when mammals popped up, but I mean, they went extinct 251 million years ago. So a lot of the stuff that they're going to be seeing out there, besides humans even, just straight up didn't exist yet. When did mammals pop up? Let's find out.
Trilobites also seem to not be able to, I'm just guessing from their shape and look, that a big one looks like it would take a long time to turn.
Yeah.
So like,
well, I don't know, because I also get like a weird house centipede impression from them.
You think that they? Yeah, I can't tell from like fossils. They look to me like horseshoe crab, like like they're kind of front heavy, and like if it just seems like it would take them a long time to turn, and there's not like a whole lot they can do if you get behind them.
Yeah. They also kind of remind me of pill bugs.
Yeah. They look like they would curl up pretty easily, but not necessarily go side to side.
Yeah.
With a ton of haste. So like I don't know. I feel like you could get around one and then or climb on its back for a while. I don't know what
could it do to you then?
I don't know what it could do to you other than like get on top of you and then chomp you. Yeah. Avoid that.
Actually, as I recall, I think that there are some fossils of trilobites where they have curled up like a pill bug.
Oh, okay. Yeah, pill bugs are mobile, but they're also very small. I agree with Ryan's point. Like, if it was giant, like, it doesn't have a lot of mobility, but if it rolled up, then it could roll, I guess. I don't know. This is...
Yeah. I think it just seems like the trilobite's the only one that is even conceivably beatable.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's the...
There's also, like, because we talk about a lot about, like, okay, even a tiny little Hulk can easily kill you with infinite strength and blah, blah, blah. But, like, there's also, like, the flip side of that is there's nothing we can do to kill a tiny Hulk. Like, they're basically impervious as far as I can tell.
Yeah. So mammals, it's sort of debated when mammals actually showed up, but it was definitely after the end Permian mass extinction. The precursors to mammals, which were synapsids, those showed up in the Carboniferous period, but they were they looked like mammals kind of, but they did not look like people. They looked like, I don't know, a vole, because why not? Actually, these do not look like voles. These look like lizards.
So yeah.
Okay, here we go. Crown group mammals evolved from the earlier mammalia forms during the early Jurassic. So the synapsids that existed during the Carboniferous period, they don't count as true mammals yet. They were not there.
So the trilobite's gonna think we look real weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be super confused, so we got that going for us.
It might leave. It might be like, I don't like this.
I mean, you have to... I guess that's true. Would you rather fight something... Because the question could be, would you rather fight something that is angry at you and wants to fight you, or something that wants to leave? And I would rather fight something that wants to leave, because I have the choice to give up and let it. But my question for them not knowing what mammals are, like, does that mitigate the squishiness of mammals? Because like for you, like, if you had never seen an ant before, it would still not be hard for you to step on it.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's my thought on that.
That sounded, I don't know why, but that sounded very wise old saying.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. If
you have never seen an ant, you can step on it as easily.
Yeah. But the thing is, though, is that I feel like the average Hulk size is going to be like around 8 feet. So the trilobite's not a whole lot bigger than you. And
I'm not close to 8 feet, just for the record.
Yeah. I'm not too far off.
Like
I'm only 2 feet shy. Yeah. But like, to me, as a person, you know, a bobcat is much smaller than me, and I would still leave it alone. The trilobite might think the same about a person, because we're so noodly and skinny, and like, at least compared to this, you know, oval-shaped trilobite, we're very different.
Did you guys watch Hey Arnold?
Yes.
Okay, so there's that one episode where, like, one of the big kids, it was like Torvald or like somebody like that. I can't believe I remember that name. One of the big like tank-like bullies, or maybe it was like Harold. I don't know. One of the bullies who was like significantly bigger than Arnold was like, we're gonna fight. 3:00 after school, we're gonna fight, something like that. And his solution was to just pretend he was like absolutely bananas crazy. And he did like a song and dance and like just acted all like weird.
Yeah.
And then if memory serves, the bully was just like, you're weird, I'm out. So maybe we could find a way to weird out a trilobite.
Yeah.
I don't know what this guy's gonna do to me.
He's acting all real weird. But also, do you have to, so like, okay, so now the question for me is like, would you rather fight the trilobite or the Hulks? Do you have to kill them?
Yeah, like that's what I was thinking. What is
like,
the victory?
Because if everybody, like, if you just make the trilobite like walk away, like, is that like a snitch nip and you get red carded?
No, you win by forfeit, right?
You win by forfeit.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I think you could win by forfeit.
Does it go to the judge cards afafter a certain amount of time?
Is there a judge?
It's like a professional wrestling thing where they do a 10 count.
Yeah. Well, I could probably land like a, my, in boxing, they, how many punches were landed and stuff. I would rack that number up. I'd have 100% punching rate. I'd just run up to the side of the trilobite and just land a bunch of punches and then win by decision.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Or you just lure it into a room that it can't turn around, and it's like winning by the trilobite sinking the 8-ball, kind of.
There's a lot.
Oh, yeah.
We need to establish a few more rules, I think, for this fight.
Would you rather fight it? That's all we got.
Are you allowed to have the 50 caliber gun?
Yeah, well,
Are you
I was
allowed
like,
to have a gun?
well, I would just shoot the trilobite into space, and then I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are the rules?
What are the rules? I would go into a trilobite-proof bunker.
Yeah.
You can just wait it out.
Just wait it out. Yeah, which one of us is going to go extinct, Mr. Trilobite?
Well, in that regard, we've already won.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah, we did it.
Call it.
These
We didn't
questions
even- yeah.
need to be need to be more defined. No, they don't. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, the more open-ended they are, the better.
Yeah. Oh man.
I wouldn't fight the trilobite. I would try to leave because I think it's cute and I think it deserves to live because it's the last of its kind.
I mean, I would easily try to leave from either scenario.
I would try to leave from any and
yeah.
all fights. You're right.
I would certainly try to leave the Hulk fight.
Yeah, if
Yeah.
I will lose the Hulk fight by forfeit. I'll just take that loss. That's fine.
Yeah, is that it? Like, we just have to be, like, shamed for the rest of our life for losing to a bunch of Hulks?
So, you couldn't beat 100 Hulks. and then you're like, they were the Hulk, and they're like, we're tiny.
You mentioned, like, I wouldn't even fight, like, 100 2 feet tall regular humans or whatever. That
Right.
made me think about the Scouring of the Shire.
Oh.
And it doesn't go well when 100 hobbits get together and try and fight big people. I mean, it goes great for the hobbits.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Doesn't go well if you're a big people or a wizard. Spoiler
You
warning.
get overwhelmed.
You get overwhelmed, and
Yeah.
they'll get you. They'll like World War Z you, swarm you. And the trilobite, maybe we could just ride the trilobite and be friends. Go
Yeah,
off on
I would like to
adventures
ride the
like it's Falcor.
Yeah.
You ride around. Ride around on your new trilobite friend. Yeah. All right. So the answer is we just be friends.
Yeah. Trilobites don't have any reason to fight me. I'm not after its food sources. I'm not trying to hurt it. We could get along.
Yeah.
On the list of references I didn't expect today, the never-ending story was definitely on there.
I don't think I've seen that since I was a child, and I forget almost everything about it. I should go back and watch it again.
I knew these questions would be gold mines.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, listeners, we didn't even get anywhere as far as what we could have talked about. So let us know this week, how could we make fighting the Hulk relatively safe? If you have any thoughts on that or anything else, you can email feedback@vaguelyscientific.com. You can comment on our blog, or you can like us on Facebook, or you can tweet on X, or whatever it's called, @VaguelySci. Yeah, I don't know social media. Hey, Jim, where do we get all these wacky questions?
We get them from you, the listeners. And if you have a question that needs to be answered in a vaguely scientific manner, please email us at questions@vaguelyscientific.com. If you want to get our episodes the minute that they're released, you can subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We're on YouTube now. Did you know? You got to know that.
Yay!
Yeah. So all the great places podcasts like to hang out, and subscribing and leaving feedback really helps us out, and so does telling your friends.
Especially if they are 100 trilobite-sized Hulks.
Yeah, we don't want to get them
Maybe
mad.
you'll- Yeah.
You don't want to alienate 100 viewers,
No.
100 listeners.
Right?
Especially if they can kill you with one punch.
That's more than just the Hulk.
Yeah, there are several. One Punch Man, for instance.
Yeah. I don't want to fight One Punch Man.
No, send us some questions about One Punch Man. I've never talked about him before. Our vaguely musical intro is composed by Anthony Pizzelli, and don't forget to check out our merch store over at vaguelyscientific.threadless.com. We made a bunch of references to some of the stuff you can find over there at the start of the show.
We sure did. So thank you to Ryan for coming back and talking to us.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Congrats on 150 episodes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
all
Well,
right.
thanks
We
for
didn't-
joining
we
us
didn't
for the
say that on air.
150. Yeah.
This is episode 150. 150.
Would you rather fight 150 episodes or one movie?
the Vaguely Scientific movie in theaters this summer.
They got to make a compilation movie of all of us.
But it's in IMAX, so
It's
either 150 episodes or a really, really big movie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know what that would be.
I don't either, actually.
I don't know, but I would watch and listen to all of them.
Yay!
Yay! Thank you. Here's your $20.
Thank you. Bye.
For Vaguely Scientific, I am Derek.
I'm Jim.
I'm Ryan.
Hulk smash!
Toodaloo, everyone.
I apologize. My headphones apparently broke, and I didn't hear the last bit.
Your headphones broke.
The wire.
You missed a good part about voles.
Yeah. Well,
Voles came back.
I didn't hear anything for a little bit because I use wired headphones and the cable just separated. So I had to reattach these Bluetooth headphones, and those always take forever because my laptop is terrible. So I'm back. I don't know what happened. I assume you guys had interesting things to say. I just was not able to respond to any of it.
I wouldn't assume that.